Friends, and welcome to StudyIQ. I'm Joycey Joy, and today in this lecture we will discuss about the NIRF 2019. NIRF is National Institutional Ranking Framework under the MHRD or Ministry of Human Resource Development. And the NIRF, that is National Institutional Ranking Framework, is an annual ranking of higher educational institutions in India. So MHRD has released the NIRF recently, and we will discuss about the highlights of the report in this lecture. We will also analyze what are the parameters that should be improved in order to increase the quality of education in India, and what are the indicators from this report. But before we begin, this is our channel StudyIQ, and we are providing pen drive courses for various competitive examinations including SSC and bank courses, UPSC optionals, SSC JE courses, teaching examination, railway examination, defense examination, RBI grade B, NABARD grade A, UGC NET, UPSC Civil Services Examination, CLAT exams for various state PSCs, and also for various professional courses. You can visit our website www.studyiq.com for more details, or you can call to any of these numbers for more information. Now, as we said, the current affair is regarding the NIRF, which is an annual ranking of higher educational institutions in the country. So, based on it, we will analyze this in detail. Now, before moving on to the highlights of the report, what makes this topic an important issue from your examination point of view is that from the report highlights, various recommendations were given, and these recommendations highlight the fact that it is important from the part of the government to create better institutions that will provide or impart education to the citizens, especially teachers training. So, we will look into the significance of government investment and providing teachers training from the recommendations of this report. So from your examination point of view, from UPSC point of view, this is important both from your prelims as well as your mains point of view. From prelims examination, facts like who publishes this report and what is this report based on, all these are important. From your mains point of view, the highlights of the report, also the recommendations of the report are very important for your essay paper as well as for your GS paper 1 social issues. Now let us start. What is NIRF? NIRF is National Institutional Ranking Framework. It comes under the Ministry of Human Resource Development or MHRD, and it is an annual ranking of higher educational institutions in the country. Now coming to the highlights of the report. In India, there are around 900 universities and 40,000 colleges, and the number of participating institutions under the NIRF was only 3,127. So there was only little participation in this, and hardly any of these institutes that participated in this met the global standards. That means the standard of those institutions that participated in this were very low. And it also mentions that there was no Indian university in the top 100 rank of the QS World University Rankings of 2019. This was also highlighted in the report. Now let us analyze what are the opportunities for India from the educational sector point of view. Now the first and the most important and the most significant opportunity lies in the demographic dividend of India. So education remains as a major bottleneck towards capturing the potential of the demographic dividend of the country. Now, demographic dividend is only a one-time opportunity or a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the nations. So, demographic dividend means that the country has a majority of its population in the young age or in the working age. So, this young population's potentials should be captured by the country by providing skills, imparting education, providing better healthcare, etc. And this is considered as a once in a lifetime opportunity for a country. So the major bottleneck for capturing the potential of the demographic dividend of India lies with the educational sector. And how much we will be able to benefit from the demographic dividend will all depend on the quality of the human capital. So merely having human capital is not enough, but the quality of the human capital is what really matters. Now, if you look into the Human Capital Index that is published by the World Bank, Human Capital Index ranks India 130th out of 189 countries in its 2018 Human Development Index. Now, if you look into World Bank's Human Capital Index ranks India 115th out of 157 countries. So, these two reports are very important from your examination point of view. Human Capital Index is published by World Bank and Human Development Index is published by UNDP. Now, we will look into the highlights of some important facts mentioned in Human Capital Index. Now, the Human Capital Index released by World Bank measures India's quality of the capital or human capital. It measures the human capital level and it also predicts the potential productivity of children in India. So, under the Human Capital Index, India has a score of 0.44, which means that a child born today in India can expect to be only 44% productive compared to her or his potential with complete health and education. So, if the child was given very good health care, very good education, the child's potential would be 100. And in India, the child can acquire only 44% of his or her potential. And the government rejected this report. Now, if you look into some of the parameters or indicators of education in India, the gross enrollment ratio or the GER is only 26 for higher education in India, while in China it is 48 and 81 in Russia. Now, another indicator is the public expenditure on higher education or education in India. The public expenditure on higher education is only 1% and public expenditure on overall education is only 3.1% of the GDP. So, there were various demands that the public expenditure on education should be at least 6% of GDP, but government has not raised this level. Now, let us understand what is new public management approach and how this has influenced the spending pattern of the government on higher education and educational sector. So, new public management approach upholds the idea that the budgetary support to a particular sector should be reduced. So, the urgency to reduce the budgetary support and increase efficiency was the philosophy behind new public management, and this was prompted by governments across the world to move towards a result oriented approach. So, the new public management approach started getting popularity in the economies after 1980s, and with this new public management approach, the government reduced the role of the government as a regulator or a policy maker. Now, the market has got more roles, or the private sector has been involved more in the educational sector. Government is only a regulator or a policy maker. So, the philosophy of new public management approach holds that the government's role be reduced and private entities given more role. And according to new public management approach, competition between units operating in quasi-market environment. Quasi-market means government regulation is there, but still market has a considerable say on the market operations. So, competition between different units that are operating in a quasi-market environment was expected to improve the outcomes, and this will lead to achievement of the policy goals. And this philosophy came as a part of new public management approach. And therefore, government created various institutions like the NAAC, like the National Assessment and Accreditation Council, and also the UGC, which will regulate the educational sector in India. But the government's involvement in the educational sector came down. So, government left it to the private entities, or government opened up the educational market. So, the role of the government came down to that of a regulator, evaluator, a entity that assesses or accredits the institutions. So, role of the government came down under the new public management approach. Now, what is required or what is the way ahead? We need to adopt a holistic approach. The policy making or the policies should be addressing the issues of the educational sector, and it should be a holistic approach. And education needs streamlining in all the levels. That means from lower levels to higher educational levels, streamlining is required, and better investment from the public, that is government investment, is also required. As many of the suggestions say, 6% of the GDP would be ideally allocated to the educational sector, and this will increase the investments in educational sector. Now, if we look at some of the top universities in the world, among which some of the Indian universities are also a part, whether it is private or public university. That is because those universities or institutions are getting liberal funding from the private sector or from the government. So funding is very important factor when it comes to infrastructural building and making investments. So that will also help in improving the quality of the education. And more investment is required not only on infrastructure but also to provide training to the teachers in order to improve the quality of the education and also to create many number of quality institutions in the country. Now, as per the report, none of the institutions that participated in the NIRF meet the global standards, and very few universities or institutions in India comes under at least top 200 universities in the world. So this is because of lack of investment, lack of quality provision in this institutes. So government must invest in order to improve the infrastructure and the quality of the education, and the focus should not only be on increasing the quantity or increasing the number of educated people, but on imparting skills, imparting quality education, and also to fill the supply demand gap of the industries. That is, the skill that educational institutions provide to the students should be able to meet the demand of the industries in the modern era. So these are all what is required, and the policy direction of the government should be turned towards this. You can follow my Facebook page for more video updates, and you can also write to me at joyce.studyiq@gmail.com for any of your queries or clarifications. Thank you. Hello my dear friends, and